I'm not here for a debate. Don't make me tap the board again. We know companies like Capcom have whole design documents on how they aspire to make deliberately ugly designs like we see in modern pseudo art slop like The Last of Us or The Last of Us in Space. It's a process that has taken the entire AAA industry, and sometimes it takes a couple of games, while in others it's instantaneous. If we go on the instant side, we have characters like Mary Jane or Aloy. Mary Jane was already a red flag. She looked average in her first outing. Not good, not bad, average. Which is worse actually, because like the frog boiling, most people can't conceive an issue until it's too late, when the water is lukewarm. If you look at the concept art, she looks like Mary Jane. She has very feminine poses, but somewhere between 3D and concept, something didn't work. The clothes are still largely the same, but notice she wears the more conservative clothing, but it's her face that doesn't work. She looks like a Starbucks barista who's about to talk to you about climate change. You also have Aloy, who, while not as bad as Mary Jane, definitely lost something in translation. She looks good in the final results, but you can see how it's in comparison that the issues crop up. She has a raw, savage, feminine beauty in the concept art. Her messy hair really sells the vibe of having lived in the wild in a semi-nomadic lifestyle. She also looks much younger, but of course, male preferences are bad, and if you like a girl who's 30 or below, you're considered a diddler now. The sequel's art is insulting, by the way. The environmental art is amazing, but the characters are awful. They didn't even try. It's as if they had good artists, but didn't follow through on their vision in the first one. Then this sequel only has diversity hires. The first one gave us an Aloy with stronger facial features that only got worse in the sequel. Now I'll double back on the subject of Capcom. Jill is a great point of interest. Yes, her design is bland, but it's exactly why it's interesting. Nowadays, the new buzzword that has been drilled into people's head is the term gooner, used as a derogative to discourage people from admiring beauty and talking about design and criticizing. I'm not going to dive into the dysgenics agenda, but one of the consequences of such things is that someone who simply wishes to talk about design cannot, for he will be shut down and immediately labeled a gooner. Jill has that awful boots and jean tank top combination that has been plaguing female character design as of late. Of course, she's also uglier than the model used as a base reference, something that doesn't happen with the male models in most games, and in games that are more based like Devil May Cry 5. A final and important detail is that Jill this time around is quite vulgar. Vulgarity is a thing hardly seen in Capcom games, yet with the new agenda came a change in how the games were written. One of the few exceptions of the time was, again, Devil May Cry, the latter having maybe one real swear at the end when Nero fights the man who took his arm but also happens to be his dad who abandoned him. He grows his arm back and seeks revenge against the man who wronged him twice. It's a satisfying and well-deserved fuck you. It's quite unlike the constant swearing heard in RE2 Remake with Claire, who also has the same problems as Jill, undermining female beauty by making them bland, then ugly. Jill's final battle is more crude and terribly balanced on Inferno difficulty. Subtext is important in analyzing any piece of fictional work. You have to search behind the meaning of things in order to see the final result and not just accept face value. The iconic stars line is thrown in the middle of the game and replaced by something lesser, but before that, let's look at the fight. She fights Nemesis with a gigantic phallic weapon. The original was a portable laser, as portable as one would be in that era. It took an entire room and you needed to lure Nemesis into the line of fire. It was nerve-wracking under a time limit. Here you just wait and you take the new version in hand, which looks anachronistic as hell but is also cartoonish. How is Jill even lifting this thing? She then shoves the phallic thing into his mouth and says, "Take a fucking hint," as if rejecting a persistent suitor. The metaphor is not lost on me. Jill is not the greatest looking, but not horrible. I've unfortunately seen worse, but she definitely comes off as needlessly aggressive. Like most millennial women, she just hates everything. Her anger seems more projected at the audience than Nemesis, and she comes off as being ugly, but mostly on the inside. The vulgarity is also a cue of this being made or influenced by leftists. There are people who want to have the microphone but have nothing to say, so they just say nonsense, shout, and scream vulgarities in order to shock. The ladies in your video games are unfortunately nothing more than the latest victims in a long campaign of female mating strategies and gaslighting.